The Chicago Bears 2024 quarterback outlook is really getting interesting, and rumors are starting to heat up. So let's dive into it here. My name is Harrison Graham. You're watching Bears Now by Chat Sports. With Justin Fields' latest injury, even though it's unclear how much time he's going to miss as of filming this video, you got to think the Bears are starting to think about 2024 and what that position looks like, especially if you're general manager Ryan Poles. Let's just look at the early evaluation this year, because to me, this year was more than anything else about evaluating Justin Fields. Week 1 against the Packers, didn't play well. Week 2 against the Bucs, did not play well. I don't think he was horrible in Week 3, but he certainly wasn't good. The whole team was just really bad in that game. Week 4 against the Broncos, very good. Week 5 at the Commanders, missed a couple throws, but pretty damn good as well. Week 6 against the Vikings, I thought the game plan was horrific from Luke Getsy, but at the end of the day, I thought it was a step backwards. It wasn't very good from Justin Fields. Then he got injured in the third quarter. So where we sit now is, even if you want to throw the Vikings game as incomplete because it wasn't a full game, you're talking about 2 good games out of 5.5, like 2 out of 6. It's not good enough. It's too inconsistent's the word. He is an inconsistent player right now. His highs are, you can win with this guy. He is a franchise quarterback. I truly believe that. His lows are, dude, why aren't you throwing the football? You're not seeing the field. Something's off. I don't get it. It's too up and down. And so if you're Ryan Poles, even if you're looking at this and like, man, I don't think Luke Getsy's the right coach for him. I don't think Matt Eberflus, I don't think I chose the right coach. The bottom line is Fields is entering year 4 next year. Even if he is still under consideration for being the starting quarterback, you got to consider all options right now if you're Ryan Poles. And there's no doubt in my mind he's doing just that. And the reason you really got to do that is because look at where you sit right now. You've got the top 2 picks in the 2024 NFL Draft. Shout out to Carolina for being terrible. You've got their pick, which is number 1. You've got your own pick, which is number 2. And you got the tiebreaker over Denver, Arizona, New York, and New England due to strength of schedule. We're still a long ways to go to say you're going to have the top 2 picks, but there's a real good chance you're going to get that top pick at this point. Like, it's very much on the table. So everything is on the table, including Justin Fields still being the guy potentially if certain things bounce a certain way. If you had to guess right now, who is the Bears 2024 starting quarterback? Type JF for Justin Fields. Type O for other if you think it's going to be someone else. Get your votes in. Pen comment on today's show, Fields or someone else when it comes to the Bears 2024 quarterback. All right, let's start looking at some other options. And producer Rolly told me he was going to be a troll when it came to graphic and photo choice here. Caleb Williams, who did get crushed by Notre Dame this past weekend. And let me just preclude this with that. Yes, I know he was bad against Notre Dame. It's, I don't think it erases everything he's done. But, yeah, it wasn't a great showing. And that happens. But at the same time, I think there were some things you could probably look at and be like, okay, like he's certainly not a perfect prospect. There's no doubt about that. You look at the numbers against the Fighting Irish. There's no doubt this is the worst game of his collegiate career. 23 of 37, just under 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, -8 rushing yards. The blitz really got to him. Before that game, when teams blitzed him, he was carving them up. Not against Notre Dame. They blitzed a lot, and it was very effective in doing so. Now, if you look at the 3 years, 2.5 years, I guess you could say, of evidence based on what he's done up to this point, he's still a very, very good prospect. He was really good in the second half of 21 at Oklahoma. He won the Heisman Trophy last year for USC, and this year he's still having a great season overall as well. His track record is there. He's played a lot of football. He's played a lot of good football. He's won a lot of games. And quite frankly, he's covered up for some clear weaknesses on that USC team the last year and a half. The defense sucks, and the O-line play has been suspect. That's just the reality of that situation. So I'm still a Caleb Williams guy. I don't think he's a perfect prospect, but I would not be scared to draft him if I was an NFL franchise. Now, we're going to take a look at some other quarterbacks that the Bears could consider next year, but something that you guys shouldn't just consider, you should flat out get started with, is Factor. America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit has you covered with quick, chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your doorstep. Adjust your stride this autumn without missing a step. Choose from our 34-plus weekly flavor-packed, fresh, never-frozen meals, ready to eat in 2 minutes or less. Maybe you need an extra boost to support your wellness goals and feel your best as you tackle a busy fall. Try Protein Plus meals from Factor with 30 grams of protein or more per serving. Factor also has Calorie Smart meals with or around less than 550 calories per serving. Tons of different options depending on what your diet is right now. And more than anything else, it's quick, it's convenient, and we got an awesome deal for you guys. 50% off when you go to factormeals.com/BearsChat50. Use code BearsChat50 at checkout to get 50% off. One more time, that is code BearsChat50 at factormeals.com/BearsChat50. Get 50% off and get started today with Factor. Yes, clean pocket there from Drake Maye as the trolling continues for producer Nick Roloff, a.k.a. Rolly. Listen, if you were evaluating this quarterback class on this past weekend alone, Drake Maye would be QB1. There is no doubt about that. He absolutely lit up the Miami Hurricanes this weekend. 17 of 33. The completion percentage wasn't great, but a lot of chunk plays. 273, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Just rushed for 10 yards, but he's a guy who's been a quality runner in college as well. He was terrific, and I think the last 2 weeks he's played his best ball of the season after, I don't want to say an up and down start, but an uneven start to the season. The last couple weeks he's really dialed it in and played some good football. And now, if you look at the past or at the season as a whole between Drake Maye and Caleb Williams, it certainly tightened up a bit. Now, Caleb Williams has more volume when it comes to touchdown passes, but the last few weeks, I think Drake Maye's actually trended in a better direction than Caleb Williams. So that's certainly interesting. Both are accurate. Both can make all the throws. I think Drake Maye's probably a little bit better in the pocket. I think Caleb Williams is better off script out of the pocket, but both can do the opposite as well. Both can run. They're quality runners, but they use their feet to keep their eyes downfield and throw typically, which I really like as well. The question is, can Drake Maye close the gap for the number 1 pick, or is it a foregone conclusion that Caleb Williams is going to go number 1 overall? If I was a betting man, I would still say Caleb Williams goes number 1, but I don't think there's just no chance for Drake Maye. And don't take my word for it. How about Dane Brugler? He is, to me, the standard for draft analysis and coverage and information on an annual basis of The Athletic. I love his work. And he said this before this past weekend, by the way. He said it's always been a 1A, 1B type of situation in my eyes with Drake Maye and Caleb Williams. The gap is razor thin. 2024 NFL Draft is the Caleb and Drake Maye sweepstakes. And again, this was prior to this weekend where Caleb Williams really struggled and Drake Maye lit it up. Now again, I don't think teams draft players based on one game alone. Like, I will take the other 25 starts or whatever it is of Caleb Williams with more value than one bad start in a raucous environment at Notre Dame. I will say this, though. Ryan Poles attended that game at Notre Dame this weekend. How much weight does that carry for him when doing his evaluations if he does decide to draft a quarterback? So it's all very interesting. I think both these guys have a chance to be really good pros. We know this. It's the NFL draft. It's quarterbacks. There's no guarantee, but it's a clear top 2. There's no doubt about that. Now, pick your poison. Who would you rather have here if you're drafting a quarterback? If you're the Bears, if you're moving on from Fields, if you'd rather have Fields, that's fine. I'm saying out of these 2 guys, who would you rather have? If you'd rather have Caleb Williams type CW, or if you'd rather have Drake Maye type DM, both are really, really good prospects. Let me know in the comments section. Now, let me throw an out there idea. Out there, just throw it out there. We're going to lob a ball downfield and throw a YOLO ball downfield, kind of like Bajent on that last throw this past week. We're just going to take a chance. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. If the Bears get the top 2 picks, I think this is the only scenario where this works, and currently they do have the top 2 picks. If Ryan Poles likes both Caleb Williams and Drake Maye, could he trade the number 1 pick, which you would get more for than the number 2 pick, and then draft Maye with the number 2 pick, assuming the team you trade takes Caleb Williams number 1? Could you do that? Like, are you willing to do that? I think the only way you would do that is if, A, you do like Drake Maye more than Caleb Williams, or B, you think it's close enough that you're comfortable with both and you just want to get as much capital back as possible for the top selection. I don't know if I would do that personally, but it's an interesting idea. Again, it's an out there idea. Just wanted to throw that possibility on the table. And again, it only happens if the Bears do land the top 2 picks in the draft. Round of applause to our subscribers here at Chicago Bears Now. We recently crossed 77,000 subscribers. Appreciate all the love, all the support. Continue to help us grow as we provide daily Bears content for free here on this channel. You subscribing, liking the videos, keeping the comment section rolling. That's what allows us to keep doing more and more. So we greatly appreciate it. Hit that sub button today for more videos. All right, let's take a look at Michael Penix Jr., the Washington quarterback who delivered a big-time win against the Oregon Ducks over the weekend, and I was impressed. It was gutsy. The stat line wasn't awesome. He struggled against pressure a bit in that game, but he was also dealing with an injury to his midsection. I don't know if he had cracked ribs or something, but he was holding his kind of waist area for over a quarter in the second half. But he kept battling, kept playing, and found a way to lead a late drive after Washington got a crucial 4th down stop. And you look at the raw numbers, it's impressive stuff, man. 72%, 2,300 yards, 20-3 touchdown interception ratio. His QBR out of 100 is 91.7. He's arguably the best deep ball thrower in this draft. I actually think he's a better deep ball thrower than Caleb Williams. I think that's one area Caleb Williams really needs to work on is the vertical passing. But Michael Penix is very accurate down the field. Now, the primary cons he has is he's older, 6-year college player. He does have an injury history, multiple leg injuries at Indiana. Now, he's been able to stay healthy at Washington for the most part. Again, I know he's banged up in that game over the weekend, but he was able to play and play well. But I think for the most part, he's a pretty damn good prospect. Now, he's playing with NFL receivers. Is that offense gimmicky a little bit? Yeah, maybe. I don't think it's full Tennessee from last year, but they run a lot of vertical shots outside the numbers with those wide hashes. So his pre-draft workouts, I think, will be important. But I'm intrigued. I don't think he's a guy you take in the top 2 or 3, but mid-first round in some kind of weird trade-down scenario, maybe. But that's kind of where I'm at with Michael Penix. I probably like Shedeur Sanders more than Michael Penix, and again, I'm not necessarily ranking these, but I'm talking about him a little bit later than Penix because I just don't think Shedeur Sanders is going to come out. I think he's going to go back to school. You look at his numbers this year, he's been very good behind a brutal offensive line. 72% completion, really good touchdown interception. He's battling while getting cracked every single week. I just think he's going to stay another year. His best friend, Travis Hunter, is not eligible to come out in the draft, so I think they're going to play another year at Colorado and maybe try to be the top 2 picks in the draft in the following year in 2025. So that could certainly change. To me, he would be a first-round pick if he came out, but I think he's going to go back and maybe try to be the number 1 pick in 2025. J.J. McCarthy might be in the same realm, by the way. He could come out. He could go back. If he wants to be a higher pick in the following year, we'll have to wait and see. But J.J. McCarthy, statistically, I think the word to use here is efficient. I mean, 78%, 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns, 3 picks, mobile as well. He's rushed in 3 touchdowns. And I think this statistic really stood out to me. Now, there is a grain of salt that we'll get to here in a second, but this from Dane Brugler again here. Percentage of third down passes that have resulted in a first down. J.J. McCarthy, 73%. Next highest is Drake Maye at 52%. Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, Quinn Ewers, Bo Nix, Shedeur Sanders. Said, good note at the end, by the way. It'll be interesting to see where things sit at the end of the season. Now, the grain of salt when it comes to J.J. McCarthy is Michigan has played nobody. Like, it's literally one of the easiest schedules in the country up to this point. So I think we need to see him play. Obviously, Ohio State later in the year. Penn State, a couple more Big Ten opponents as well. College football playoff. Remember last year in the playoff, he threw 2 critical pick sixes against TCU in the CFP semis, which cost the Michigan Wolverines a chance to go to a national championship. So I want to see him in high-pressure situations, but he has definitely grown as a passer. He's been very accurate this year. I'm definitely intrigued by where J.J. McCarthy is going. Now, who is your favorite QB prospect in next year's draft after Caleb Williams and after Drake Maye? Is it McCarthy? Is it a guy like Quinn Ewers, who we haven't talked about? Is it Michael Penix, Shedeur Sanders? If you had to pick somebody after Caleb Williams and Drake Maye, who would that player be? quick rapid fire guys beyond those 5 who I would have as my top 5. Quinn Ewers is in that discussion, but he's a little inconsistent for me. I think he could benefit from another year of college. I wonder if he'll consider that. Jayden Daniels has been rising up boards. I think he's going to be a day 2 guy, dual threat guy. He's played really well for LSU. Bo Nix, I think, is a day 2 guy as well. He played well against Washington, just couldn't quite pull out that W. Riley Leonard hasn't played that great this year for Duke. But some people are pretty high on him. He's got the size. He's got the arm. Michael Pratt, Tulane, sleeper. Keep an eye on him. Jordan Travis, late day 2, early day 3. Spencer Rattler, kind of same realm. He's had a good season, but older prospect as well. There's some concerns there. Sam Hartman of Notre Dame, I think for day 3, there's some value. Joe Milton, crazy physical tools, but very inconsistent. Same with Cam Ward. A lot of these guys are not guys that, to me, you're like, hey, trade Fields, I'm going to hand the keys to the franchise to one of these players right away. That's not really where I'm looking at. That's the Drake Maye. That's the Caleb Williams realm. If you decide to move on, you're getting one of those guys. Free agents, if you do want to go with like a bridge option, like I'll tell you what, if you do keep Justin Fields, I wouldn't mind a Ryan Tannehill type as a backup. I think a lot of that depends on how Tyson Bagent looks the rest of the season. Kirk Cousins, I don't think I'm going that route in terms of like, hey, come be our starter for 3 or 4 years. Like, Cousins is solid, but I think we know there's a clear ceiling there. Then Baker Mayfield, I'm not really that interested if I'm being honest. So, to me, if you're the starting QB next year is either Justin Fields or a draft pick. That's how I look at it. And probably it's either Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, or Drake Maye. I would be actually pretty surprised if not one of those 3 players was your week 1 starter next year. I guess the ultimate wild card is if Tyson Bagent goes on a Brock Purdy type of run here. But I don't think any of us think that level of play is happening. So it's going to be fascinating, going to be interesting. I hope Fields gets back soon. I want to evaluate him more. But this latest injury certainly throws a wrench into things, which is why, if you're the Bears, you got to be looking ahead to 2024 at least a little bit. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe for more videos.